Hey, we want to thank our sponsor today, HelloFresh. Guys, fall is right around the corner, and HelloFresh is here to help you plan for the busy season ahead with tasty dishes delivered to your door. Simply choose your recipes, pick your delivery date, and then lay back. That's right, Rand. I said lay back and enjoy the last days of summer knowing that dinner is covered.
Go to HelloFresh.com/50cheapseats. Use the code 50cheapseats for 50% off. Plus for free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/50cheapseats. All one word. Use the code 50cheapseats for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of View from the Cheap Seats, our look at the week in sports, and of course, the week, W-E-A-K, in sports.
Yes.
It is college football. Yes, last week was week 0. This is week 1 of college football. So we bring on this week to talk just all of it. One of the great college voices in college football right now in Sports Talk Radio. We're, of course, talking about our friend Chris Childers, the host of Full Ride, and he does an SEC show on Sirius XM. He's amazing. We love him. His idea, because we've already recorded the interview, but his idea for what to do if it becomes 2 giant conferences in football.
The future of college football, he lays out a plan.
He's unbelievable. And his idea on how to level the playing field from a recruiting standpoint.
Amazing.
I've never heard of that before, and yet it is fantastic. We'll get to all that later. But first, at the top of the show, I got to talk about, and we have to talk about what the hell is going on in the world of Major League Baseball. 2 events happened this week that are just, I wanted to talk about Shohei Ohtani, how in the context of what we're hearing about the Angels organization, how they wouldn't buy Albert Pujols a goddamn treadmill so he can stay in shape. Meanwhile, they're spending $250 million on his contract, but they won't buy him a treadmill for him.
What
and they
the hell?
Didn't have nutritionists, and they were so far in the dark ages. You wonder why is Mike Trout getting injured so much? Oh, I don't know, because they just don't care about it. Why is Shohei Ohtani injured right now? So I wanted to talk about that. But to me, the weirdness that happened to Ronald Acuna Jr. out on the field. What is happening? People just jump out on the field.
Jump on the field and then run and hug him.
But then another guy kind of went up to him in like a confrontational sort of a way. And then why were there 5 people on the field at this point? Like, this isn't something we've seen. I feel like we've crossed a threshold here. And then 2 women get shot at Guaranteed Rate Field, Chicago White Sox Stadium. Someone brought a gun into the stadium.
How does that happen?
How does that even happen? I don't understand. What is happening? There's an X-ray thing you got to walk through to get in.
It's such a shame. And I mean, look, I would almost expect this more to happen at an NFL game, because all I see at NFL games are fights
in the stands.
Fights between fans of the same team. I saw that San Francisco 49ers fan fight. I'm like, what are you doing?
It's a Trey Lance argument happening out there. Trey Lance, Brock Purdy argument happening.
What is happening? So the violence and the drinking around an NFL game feels like, all right, I could see some of this weird stuff happening.
So White Sox sources say video from the gate screening area shows the woman did not set off the metal detectors who had the gun, but instead a person in front of her with a cell phone did. I'm glad we're catching the right things here.
Jesus.
I mean,
it makes it for the fan, for the casual fan who wants to go to
ever
games.
Since Monica Seles, if someone approaches you on the field,
they should be beaten down in a way that's not comfortable.
Yeah. We
need to send a message in front of everyone that these choices should not be made.
I mean, this is
You have to assume the worst. And it's overshadowing. The sad part for me is that it overshadows, for me, the great moment that happened this week in baseball.
Which wasn't professional basketball.
It was the Little League World Series.
Unbelievable.
California's up 5-1. The grand slam by Curacao
is like
that moment on its own was one of the greatest
moments
of Little League World Series history ever.
Oppo Field home run. This kid hits it, just incredible.
And then Louis Lappy, the star of the Little League World Series, a big kid.
I mean, he's big, 6'1". 6'1". He's what, 12 years old?
Tall, big kid. But his bat speed and his turn on the ball, was insane.
The upward swing that he took in the, sort
the
of the
launch angle
and
mixed in with like the exit velocity.
As soon as he hit it, I'm like, it's gone. I actually was surprised it didn't travel further because he got all of it.
Right. It seemed like it would go way
Curacao
up.
hadn't given up a home run in the entire World Series.
And they give up a walk-off home run.
to lose. But
That feeling for the kid, the excitement for that kid to win not just a baseball game on a walk-off home run, not just the league championship on a walk-off home run, but the Little League World, and it is a World Series. We'll get into whether or not a sport is a world sport or not in Quick Hits later. But that moment was so wonderful, and it's so sad that it got overshadowed in baseball news by these other weird fan interactions.
this thing is the weirdest thing ever, and it's so strange. So along with the 42-year-old who was shot in the left bleachers, there were two other victims. A 26-year-old was grazed in the stomach, and a 31-year-old was nicked in the back. Both those women were CPS teachers. Chicago public school teachers at Graham Elementary School who were celebrating the end of the first week of classes with a group of 30. So let's shoot some teachers, you idiot. The 31-year-old woman said she heard two popping sounds and felt a pinch in her back. And then a woman behind her screamed when she looked down, she found a bullet. So it ricocheted off her back. And then this is like, how is this possible? And I love that the attorney of the woman said she didn't bring the gun in there. Why are you bringing a gun into a game?
You don't need it.
You don't need it at the
a
game.
gun in
Also,
the game.
again, I think baseball is like the least, like NFL is a violent sport. And there is like violence surrounding everything. And the Major League Baseball is not that.
No.
It's surprising to me. It'd be like if someone brought a gun into a cricket match. They have tea in the middle of it. It's just surprising to me. And the jumping on the field and the hugging of Ronald Acuna to me was so disturbing.
Yes.
Ever since Monica Seles, like I said before, it just is disturbing to me. Can we just...
we just need a really, really strong couple public beatdowns.
That's it.
Just in front of everyone, like not stopping, like really, really, really going far. Like take it real far and be like, you can't do this. You literally can't put these people, even if you think it's funny, it's not funny now.
Yeah.
It's not funny now.
Just bothers me. Please, can we stop?
Because really it bothers me, and I'll say this, the last thing I'll say. The players are trusting the fans because their back is to them.
There's so much.
They're focused on the game. There is an unwritten contract between fan and player. It kind of started last week with the Tommy Pham stuff.
Yeah.
Like
We talked about
leave
that
these
last
players alone. You're coming to watch them perform for you. You're coming to watch them try and compete for you. You're paying for it, yes, but leave them alone. You're watching it. You're not a part of the game in that way. Your loudness can be part of the game. Your cheering can be part of the game. You can boo. Fine, but like the second
can't
you make
cross
a
the line.
step, where
there
you
is a
cross
line that everybody
a
knows.
safety line. If you cross the safety line, you should have to deal with unnecessarily harsh consequences.
Exactly, and you don't get you've crossed that line. You've entered the Thunderdome. Now prepared to.
Like the players should get to stomp on their ass.
Agreed.
Like cleats to the neck.
I agree.
Sorry, dude. You stepped into our thing. It's like, does anyone get mad when a guy's like teasing a lion and goes into the lion cage and gets gored? They're like, no, he should not have done
Gored gets chewed up.
Killed. Does everyone get mad at that?
No.
You shouldn't have done that.
Because you're stupid.
There's no situation where it's necessary for you to run onto the field.
To tease a lion.
Don't do it.
Don't run on the field.
Don't run on the field.
You're teasing the lion.
You're gonna get destroyed.
I agree. I think
we should look at that as like you're taking your life into your hands.
Or take that person in the clubhouse and we don't see him for a while.
Yeah.
And
Whatever
just let the guys
happens,
on the
happens.
bench. Whatever happens, happens.
Couple bats to the neck.
We'll see
I don't
what
know.
happens.
Whatever happens.
See if you can walk out of here.
You made a mistake.
You made a mistake, and you
got to
deserve
break
it.
your legs.
That's right.
You shouldn't have gone on the field. We all know not to go on the field.
Zero sympathy.
We broke your legs. I'm sorry. 2 bats to the knees. You'll never walk again, or you'll be in a chair for the rest of your life.
Yep.
That was your choice.
Hope it was worth it.
Was it worth it?
Hope it was worth it. All right, there you go. That's our top take. We'll come back. Chris Childers, very excited to talk to him about college football and his idea on how to fix things as they start to head towards where they're heading, plus an idea on how to level the playing field, which is very tilted in the direction of like 4 or 5 teams.
Yes.
In terms of recruiting. It's amazing. We'll be right back. It's View from the Cheap Seats. Don't go anywhere.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I jumped, you ran.
Jumped the gun.
We have a great guest, someone we listen to on the radio, someone we enjoy. He is the show pony. He is probably the most enthusiastic adult male Disney fan in America. He's in grad school right now at Alabama to get a journalism degree, on top of being the co-host of Full Ride, one of the best shows about college football.
On Sirius XM. We love him.
Chris Childers, welcome to the show, buddy.
Childers, how are you, bud?
I am fantastic now that I'm talking to you boys. I am ready for football. I'm very happy, and I am the oldest, weirdest Disney fan to ever live. Yes.
I'm glad we've established that.
So do you get the tingling in the loins around mid-August when it comes? I didn't mean to put that on the tail end of the Disney stuff, but you don't want a loin tingling and
let's
separate that
Disney
from the
fan.
Disney talk. But I am talking now about college football coming. Like, you can feel it. Like, I watched some of the games week 0. I didn't love the games week 0, but it got me excited.
Right.
How'd you feel about it?
Well, there's two non-sexual things that make my loins tingle, and college football certainly is one of them.
Sure.
I've made that reference many times, and I was going to do it this morning on the air, and I'm like, you know what, Rick's in an extra bust my balls kind of mood, so I'm just not going down that road. But
Right, sure.
Maybe tomorrow, maybe day one, I will. Absolutely. I mean, tinglage and then some. I was at a game this past Saturday. I went to the Vanderbilt game, and it's Vanderbilt. It's not, it's not Alabama. It's not Michigan. It's not Georgia, but it was fun. It was fun to go to a football game. It was cool to be at a competitive 4-quarter affair. To watch the teams get after it, to not know who was going to win.
It's great.
Late in the second half. So that was a blast to go do that.
Totally.
So that and Broadway shows. Walking into a Broadway theater in New York is the other thing that just makes me like, I love that.
It's exciting.
I love that. But those two things make my loins a tingle.
I absolutely love it. And sort of unlike the NFL preseason, which I don't know if you've watched any NFL preseason because that's really the only thing on. I mean, there are moments, and I talked about this on a football podcast yesterday, just where it's 6-3 at the end of the second quarter, and you're like, every drive is bad because you're watching third stringers try to muddle their way through, and it feels like you're at like a company retreat for a company that you don't work for. You're like deep in the weeds of stuff that it's like you're not ready to watch this football. Whereas the college season starts and you're like, yes, there's some non-conference cupcakes and whatnot, but these guys are so ready to go. So like this Saturday, I can't tell you how excited I am for this Saturday.
There's your game that matters to you, the team you're rooting for, and then one other insane great game.
Right. So, I mean, I'm with you, dude. It is exciting.
Hopefully we have several insane great games. I mean, that's the beauty of week 1. And every coach will tell you this, that your team will get dramatically better from week 1 to week 2. I mean, it's when you have the most improvement. So for example, like Michigan would probably be okay sucking week 1 because of who they're playing. Right. They could probably suck week 1, week 2, and week 3 and be just fine. And the same can be said for a handful of teams in college football. But for like South Carolina and North Carolina, you can't. For LSU and Florida State, you can't. For a lot of these games that are happening this week, you can't afford to be bad. I mean, because these games matter. Unlike the NFL preseason where you're just trying to figure out your roster.
Right.
I can't watch it.
Wins and losses
have zero interest. I had tickets to the Titans-Patriots game and just kind of said, I'm not going.
Yeah.
I'll let somebody have a little extra leg room who was ever supposed to sit next to me.
Right.
Because I just don't care. I don't care. I have gotten to a point in my life where I have to watch something that's meaningful. I can't go to a minor league baseball game anymore because it just doesn't matter.
Right.
I want to watch stuff that matters. College football matters. Every game matters. The regular season matters. And even with the cupcakes, guys, sometimes the cupcakes win, like App State. Sorry to bring it up.
No. That's
True.
a great point.
Great
And I actually think with like, transfer portal and NIL and whatnot, sort of leveling somewhat of the playing field, you can get caught by someone. You can get caught by a weird offense if you've got just a bunch of young guys and like you just get caught by a weird spread. You can get caught by an Army. Army took Michigan to the wire and it was just, again, this weird triple option where you're like, they're going to get 3 yards every time and they're going to run it on 4th down and you got to try and stop them and it's going to be really hard. So it's like, these service academy games, weird teams that you don't normally play. Like, that's what makes these first few weeks exciting.
So exciting. And, sometimes sometimes the extra time helps. Like Notre Dame last week played a service academy and blitzed them.
Yeah.
And I think that extra couple of weeks to play the triple option certainly factored in. But, a lot of weird things can happen. Your guys can just be undisciplined.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you've got false start penalties that put you behind.
Yep.
Now you're third and long, and it gives the other team a chance. Let's say they hit a couple of explosives, like, for example, Utah State and Iowa this weekend. There's all this talk about Cade McNamara not being healthy for Iowa. I think Utah State's going to have a real chance because of that.
Yeah.
Because Iowa's been so inept offensively. I don't think they've got a lot of depth at that position.
Right.
McNamara was going to save it. He's not playing.
Right.
So because of it, I think it opens up the door for Utah State. And think about what it would mean for Utah State to go on the road and beat Iowa. I mean, as somebody who went to a smaller school for undergrad to Middle Tennessee, it's the world.
Yep.
I mean, going to Miami last year and beating Miami was our season.
It was amazing.
More important than any bowl game, more important than any conference game. It was our season. It's what you remember about last year.
It's what those kids will remember for a lifetime. It's funny. We talk about, there was a great article written in the Shutdown Fullcast by one of those guys who, I think it's Spencer from there.
Spencer
who wrote a great article about what a big win means to a small school who's not expected to win versus what a big win means to a school who's expected to win. It means nothing to Alabama. You're wearing an Alabama shirt. A win, it means a little bit. It means something. But to a Middle Tennessee State, it means everything for decades. People talk about it.
The weird thing is Middle Tennessee and Alabama play this weekend, and I will be ferociously rooting against the team that I have the colors on right now. I have Alabama all over myself, but if for some God-given reason that game was competitive in the fourth quarter, I'm taking my crimson and lighting it on fire.
Sure.
And it is all about the Blue Raiders at that point, because my undergrad loyalties would far exceed any kind of grad work that I'm doing from 3.5 hours away in Nashville. So
yeah,
I can promise you that. But I'm telling you, man, I was watching the Miami game a year ago.
Right.
I kind of had it on in the background. I remember I always have a priority. So I have my main TV and then my computer screen and my phone. And I had the Miami Middle Tennessee game as my phone. It was the phone game. It was the game that was just going to be kind of on in the background. Yeah.
Yes, relegated.
And then as it started to go, I'm like, this is going to make its way to the big screen. This is
second quarter. It's on the computer.
I'm just in complete awe. Yeah, I'm in complete awe and shock that we're actually going to win the freaking game. And I got to a point where I actually accepted it was going to happen. Not only were we going to win, we beat them comfortably, and there was nothing they could do to stop our explosives. I mean, time and time again, we got open down the field. I'll never forget that game. It's probably the game I'll celebrate the most in my fandom ever. I mean, it's like when Middle Tennessee beat Michigan State in the NCAA tournament. Those are the moments that matter the most. A win over Florida Atlantic, that's wonderful.
Sure.
But they run together. For us, our Super Bowl is if we beat Georgia Tech, if we beat Miami, if we win games like that.
So, I mean, that to me, I would have loved to have seen the progression and the timeline of where that game moved. So it's on the phone in the first quarter, moves to the computer in the second quarter, moves to your TV in the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter, you're at a Buffalo Wild Wings. You're like, I need to be around people. I need to be around people and lose my brain.
I think it's funny you say that because you're not far off.
Yeah.
I think I ended up on campus at the Boulevard.
That's amazing.
Which is a
yeah, you did.
This wings kind of thing.
I'm sure.
Burgers and all that. But I ended up, and that's the best place to watch games, and I think I ended up there for it. So you're not too far off.
So you talk about going into the stadium and watching the Vanderbilt, watching the game with other people. If you're going to the Michigan game this weekend, we're going to go in 2 weekends. It's like there's no better feeling than walking to the stadium with 100,000 heads. You look out and there's just heads, sea of people walking in there. And there is, it's funny because people talk about walking to a Seattle Sounders soccer game, and the march from the bars in the area that they are to walk down is as much a part of it. It's where you get everything sort of gets together,
it's the best.
right? It's kind of like that march to the stadium is also so much a part of it. Again, the pageantry of college football. I just am so excited that we're on sort of the main game week this week and many games. It's just, to me, again, the excitement, we realize how much we love this sport. And as Michigan fans, we're very excited for what the year could potentially
certainly
be.
Like, we've been talking to you for probably about 5, 6, 7 years now, maybe since like 16, 7. When I don't know when we first connected with you, maybe 17, 18. Mm-hmm. A time when Michigan was good but not great. A time when we had hope at times, but then it was dashed at the end of every single year. We finally gotten to a place where we feel like Michigan has its quarterback, has its team in place, a lot of returning pieces. What do you see in this team as an outsider this year going into this season?
They're probably as good as anybody in the country, and that includes Georgia and Alabama and LSU and everybody else. Now, would I favor them to win the national title? I would not, because history suggests that the SEC wins. I mean, that's just the way that it works.
Yep.
Could they win? Absolutely. Has Ohio State won one in the playoff era?
Yeah.
They have. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but history has told us it's either the SEC or Clemson that has won national championships in this modern day college football playoff era. So with that said, I would probably pick an LSU. I'd probably pick a Bama or a Georgia. And in fact, I have picked LSU this year to win the national championship. Wow. I think Daniels wins the Heisman. But Michigan's got a great quarterback in JJ. Mm-hmm. They got a running back who's not only talented, he's sophisticated. Mm-hmm. The kid is he's savvy, he's smart, he's engaging. He's going to be Blake Corum's going to be everywhere when he's not playing football. I'm telling you, he's just one of those likable dudes that understands how to communicate, how to endorse his brand. He's just somebody you like, you want to hear from. You don't hate him. You know, he's not an arrogant, playing the game at a high level. The defense should be stout. I talked to my buddy Rick Pizzo recently. He was at practice from the Big Ten Network, and he said it was the best team he's ever seen. He's never seen a team that loaded top to bottom with talent. I think Harbaugh believes it too. I just wish they would stop chirping. Yeah. Like, just stop talking about how great you are and just let the season unfold.
Go play the game.
And we'll see how it goes, because it's almost like they're really believing and now they're great. But never believe that you're great, right? You always want to believe that you suck and prove somebody wrong. Like Georgia, for some godforsaken reason, has been able to convince their team that they were underdogs last year, which, it's amazing.
It's like the Patriots. They're like, no one gives us credit. Tom Brady, no one gives us credit.
We got to play with a chip on our shoulder.
It's like, who's not giving you credit?
But how about ESPN picked all Alabama?
Yeah.
So Georgia has Kirby Smart, Kinsell.
They don't
the underdog thing again.
Chip on your shoulder. I mean, everybody's picking Ohio State over Michigan, and you're like, with an unproven quarterback? Okay. I mean, they have talent. It's sort of like, you're not, but a lot of people are.
I'm not.
I know you're not, but a lot of people are. I mean, truthfully, I do think it's one of those things. If Michigan beats Ohio State again for a third time, goes to the Big Ten, wins a Big Ten championship, maybe even just wins one game in the playoffs, gets to the final game, I think a lot of fans will be 100% satisfied with that season. Now, who knows what's going to happen next year? You don't know if JJ goes and whatnot, but it's going to be fascinating. I think the league is better when you have a Michigan in going far. Again, that we're biased, but I think it's better for the sport when you have the kind of that sort of. I think it's better when Notre Dame is great.
I think it's better when USC is great. I think all those like tentpole teams,
and Texas, all those kind of brands. You know what's interesting though about the Michigan thing? It is different, and we've been talking for, like you said, 6-7 years, and the narrative of Michigan has changed significantly in the 6 and 7 years, and now they're a heavyweight. They're an elite that's playing for the big prizes. They weren't that. They were, just a step off for a while. Think of the pressure. Michigan, there's pressure to keep it going, but think of the pressure on Ohio State.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Ohio State was creaming Michigan every year. Ohio State was running roughshod in this league.
Yeah.
Fact of the matter is, Ryan Day's getting compared to John Cooper, and you do not want to be that. You just don't want to be that guy.
I mean, if Harbaugh beats him again, I mean, most kids on this team have never beaten Michigan because they didn't play in the COVID year in 2020. So now you got you've only lost them if he beats them again. And I don't think they beat him next year unless JJ comes back. I don't think they've got a shot to beat him in Columbus in 2024 unless JJ comes back. But if they beat him this year, like, can Jim Harbaugh open up a restaurant, a 3-0, like, you know, how like Urban Meyer opened.
He probably should, because Urban had
like
the 7-0 bar and grill, or
like the 3-0,
whatever the hell. Yeah,
that would be really funny.
Whatever it's called.
Open
he
like
should.
a 3-0 food truck.
You should open up a restaurant saying, "I'm, Ryan Day's daddy."
Yeah,
I mean, Day's my bitch. The bar and grill, or something like that.
I mean, if
a day bar,
like a day bar.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Ryan Day
Saucy,
bar, right? Saucy day
saucy.
Bar. It is really exciting, the idea that what do you think about, and I'm curious about all the sort of conference realignment and whatnot. I mean, I'm a purist in that.
Is this the last year of college football as we
I was sad that the Pac-12 got sort of disbanded
Swallowed
the way
up.
that it did and got swallowed up. Even as a Big Ten guy, I'm not happy about it because I think the regionalism of games and the tradition of regionalism is, like, to me, worth more and more valuable than sort of because no fan was saying, like, oh, I'm sick of watching Cal Stanford. Which you probably can still watch, but I mean, I'm sick of watching
Oregon State, Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon State, Oregon. No fan was like, let's stop this. Only the people who stand to make a lot of money are the only people who are happy about this.
Well, it's the TV networks that obviously did this. I mean, ESPN and Fox have essentially done this. So if you're pissed, be pissed at them.
That's right.
Because that's who control this. I mean, you could say, well, conference commissioners and university presidents, and that's all well and good, but all of this has been done and caused by television network executives. They all understand the value of live sports. They understand the advertising revenue that's going to be generated from it. They get it. College football for pennies on the dollar compared to the NFL. So they're going to use that, and they're going to say, this is super valuable to us. We're going to position it the way we want.
That's right.
Where we think it's going to be the most profitable. And that's exactly what Fox and ESPN have done. I hate it. The thing that sucks is that, regionalization to me mattered, and I thought the 12-team playoff was going to fix a lot of the problems.
Agreed.
I thought kids were going to start staying home. I thought there was going to be an interest again in the West Coast. I mean, I really believed that was going to really relieve a lot of the issues by expanding a playoff. And for kids that wanted to play for the big prizes, they didn't have to go from Hawaii to Alabama or from California to Georgia or wherever. I mean, they could stay right home and get wherever they wanted to go.
That's right.
I thought it was going to fix it. Obviously, the TV networks had another plan in mind. We're going towards a Big Two. I mean, it's obvious. We're clearly going towards a Big Two. I don't know what that means for everybody else involved. I don't know if we're going to have some level of relegation and promotion. I think it's going to be okay. I mean, I don't think it's going to, be the worst. We'll get used to it.
Right.
It'll become normal.
Yeah.
But it's uncomfortable. I compare it to a kid going through puberty. I mean, this is
it's a great
not
take.
fun. I mean, we got weird pimples and acne and things are starting to feel different that they didn't feel before. And, maybe you were rubbing up against the jet in the pool and felt something different.
That's right.
You're like, hold on a second. So, I mean, that's kind of what's going on right now.
Yeah. I mean, the jet in the pool is only helping one person. And so,
remember that first time, though? You're like,
God.
Oh, hey.
You're like, hey, come on.
What's going on?
This there's always a moment when people would be like, you got to get out of the pool. Like if you're ever at a public pool with it's adult swim, and I would stand.
No, I'm good.
And there's a moment where just I'm going to be the last person to get out, and that feeling of defying authority and sit right here, and maybe you pee a little bit, but I mean it
100%
at that. So
100%.
So I was like, who's going to be the last in the pool? But I do, and I don't want to sound like an old person of get off my lawn and why is this the old way was the way that's better. But I do think, there are traditions in college football. There was a point in time when college football was a zillion times bigger than the NFL. 50s, 40s, 30s, going way back. I mean, it was 10 times bigger than the NFL. And even in the 60s, it was bigger than that. You got excited. Playboy wasn't doing a an issue about the NFL teams. They were doing like the college football issues and whatnot. So it was like it was a bigger deal. To me, I wish that regionalism was so fun. Growing up in St. Louis, we were Missouri fans in basketball and in football back in the late 70s. But like the Big Eight, the Missouri-Kansas rivalry, the Missouri-Oklahoma rivalry in basketball was insane. And it was like you hated them.
Oklahoma-Nebraska football.
God, it was like
that rivalry.
It was so good. And I just feel like, again, it's like something that like only the Midwest, like there's a group of people that would understand that in the Midwest. And that's a good thing. That's only this group gets it. Like even the Pitt-Penn State rivalries of like the early 80s were great. I don't know. I lament that going away. And I don't know what a Big Two looks like. Like what does a Big Two, play that out for me, Childers. Like how does a Big Two look? You got
40 teams in each conference and then you play...
Probably, or some sort of divisional, and if we get to Big Two, it might actually look more like it does now. It might be like, the regional division of the West Coast and the regional division and it could be like an AFC, NFC kind of thing with just the biggest schools.
That's right.
And maybe we get to that and we're like, oh, you know what? This is actually clean and makes sense. And we have like a playoff that comes out of it. And it, oh my God, follows in the NFL model. What a novel concept. We had something that worked in America for years to look at as an example. Why not do it that way? The NFL model works. It could absolutely go to that path. My dream would be promotion and relegation, where you have 20 teams in a league, 20 teams in a league, winners play for a championship, and bottom three move down and the top three move up, and you actually have to earn your spot. I mean, that's my biggest thing is that I hate that. My biggest issue with college football is that it doesn't matter how hard you try. You are who you are. Mm-hmm. Like Boise State is who it is. Now, obviously UCF and Houston were able to benefit here from the whole Texas thing, and they got into the Big 12. But App State, they're football programs that are good and they commit to football.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the bottom line is they're Sunbelt schools. They're this or that. Like Vanderbilt's going to make gazillions of dollars more than them just because of the league they're in.
Right.
But Vanderbilt doesn't even come close to the level of commitment as App State.
That's right.
So in a real world, who deserves the money?
App State
deserves the money because they've invested in football.
Right.
That's what pisses me off, and that's what I wish we would fix if we go to a Big Two.
Relegation is like one of the most exciting things of English Premier League soccer, and
it's the best.
It is so phenomenal, and it makes those end of the season games for teams that don't matter. It makes them so much more exciting.
Oh yeah,
you are literally watching
the game within the game.
Yeah, it's the game within the game.
Game two within the game.
And I think that, that divisional 3 teams moving up, even 2 teams moving up and 2 teams going back down, that you can't throw a season away. And to me, I think...
think if you did it this way. Think about it this. So let's just say the SEC, let's take 2 leagues, or let's take the MAC, since you guys are Michigan guys.
Right.
In the Big Ten. So let's say Michigan wins the Big Ten. The bottom of the Big Ten this year is...
Northwestern, right?
Northwestern,
right.
Okay. So Northwestern's bottom of the league. Now, let's say Ohio wins the MAC, or just whoever, or Northern Illinois.
Right.
So Northern Illinois wins the MAC. Northwestern finishes last place. Mm-hmm. What if we had a game in Detroit where the winners in the Big Ten and the losers in the MAC?
Amazing. It would be
How good is that?
Incredible. It would be fighting for their lives in their conference.
Yeah. So you would do a Northern Illinois versus Northwestern for the right to be up in the league.
Yeah, the winner of the MAC plays the loser of the Big Ten, and the winner gets the money essentially
for the next season. That would be
it would make those.
This isn't my original idea.
No, but
it's the reason I love this so much.
I love it.
I've never seen promotion relegation done like this before until I watched Scottish football this year.
Okay.
And I watch a lot of it. You could probably see behind me with all the scarves. I love soccer.
Same.
So I was watching Scottish Premiership, and there was something on Paramount where they had the lower level Scottish League playoff on. So I got into it, and then I realized that the winner of that would then play the team that finished at the bottom of the Scottish Championship, and it was a 2-leg thing. So it was home and home.
Yep.
So the Patrick Thistle would play a home game against Ross County, and then vice versa. And it was, dude, Patrick Thistle was the team that was coming from the lower level. They were up 2-0 on aggregate with 20 minutes left to go.
You're like, this is over.
They were about to get promoted and make a ton of money, and blew it.
They blew it.
Gave up 3 goals in 20 minutes.
Oh
Ross
my
County
God.
stayed up.
That's insane.
Think about how awesome that would be as a viewer.
So let me tell you, and I don't have to explain to you why this is awesome, but let's say you're a Ross County fan. Let's say you're a Northwestern fan. Your entire season,
starting with the
Pat Fitzgerald bullshit, and then beyond, everything is terrible. You getting trounced by the Big Ten. You're getting trounced by all the teams, regular teams. You have
everyone who
game.
shows up to your thing. It's a home game for the visiting team. It's miserable every single game.
You're at Soldier Field or wherever the new field is where the Bears are playing. You play the one thing. You play one game against Northern Illinois for this thing for a chance.
You kick a last second field
You're down
goal.
2 touchdowns with like 2 minutes to go, and you come back and you win that game to stay in the Big Ten. Your fan base then, if you're on the lower league, if you're Northern Iowa, you said, look, we had them. We almost beat them. It sucks. We'll come back
get them next year.
So your fan base is like, we almost jumped up to the thing. We'll be there next year. That's what you can say to
And we won the MAC, so we feel good about that.
If you're Northwestern and you had the worst season ever, no hope and whatnot, we have friends that are Northwestern fans, you say to yourselves, that was unbelievable. We stay in the Big Ten. We have another life, and it's exciting even if it goes that way. Fascinating.
And you could and sell the program that way. I mean, people could invest that way too. That you're excited that you found a way to stay up. So
that's right.
I think it would be the greatest thing in the world for college football.
Agreed.
I really do. It just makes too much sense, and the TV networks would only benefit from it. We know they love money.
And so, by the way, if what you're talking about in terms of like a West Coast division and a Mountain division and a whatever, however you do it, Midwest and then East division of the Big Ten, so to speak, you divide the teams up in a better way, and it would have to be competitive. I mean, the bummer right now is that Penn State, the 3 best teams in the Big Ten are all in the Big Ten East, all of them, and that's just the way it is. Number 4 is probably Wisconsin,
or maybe Illinois,
maybe Wisconsin. Maybe
Who knows?
Who knows? We don't even know. Like, you just don't even know. Wisconsin, Illinois, or Iowa if they put it together. But like the top 3 teams are in one division, which is not fair as far as that goes. If Penn State were to strip over to one side, Michigan maybe, it's like you'd have to sort of figure it out. But you'd want to keep some rivalry games that exist all the time. You want to keep those as part of it. But if you can regionally kind of rebuild the Pac-10, the Pac-12 in a division type thing and make sure you preserve those games and those regional rivalries, I'm like, okay, now I'm looking, and relegation and promotion happens in this thing. Now I'm like, okay, along with a 12-team playoff, I'm like, this is great. This is fantastic. The only thing you have to fix.
No, it wouldn't be a 12-team playoff. It would be more like what he's saying.
You'd get the playoffs. You get like the top 6 teams and whatever.
Yeah, it would be more like an NFL model.
NFL model,
So a wild card thing, which I'm not
all the division leaders plus 2 wild cards, and the wild cards. Yeah.
And the wild cards could maybe be from lower divisions that aren't that thing. You never know. You could get like one wild card team, which is the best team from a group of 5 type thing. To me, this would be fascinating. The only thing that has to be fixed is recruiting, in my opinion, in terms of, because did we talk about this with you, that someone was telling us that like Alabama and Georgia getting like
and Ohio State
getting the level of players that these guys get. And now you look at Miami and Florida State and Florida with the NIL stuff they're doing. It would be like if the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs got the first 25 picks in the draft. You're like,
I know.
How does the reason Cincinnati went from last place and winning 1 game a year to then going to the Super Bowl was because they had the opportunity to get Joe Burrow because of their positioning and where they were. And so it gives those teams hope that they can go back out there and
turn it
around in a relatively quick distance. Now you're just like the very best of the best, which is why all the people picked Alabama to win, except for you. And all the people are picking Ohio State to win because they're like looking at the talent on that roster and they're like, you're not going to beat this talent. So we have to figure out a way to better distribute. And I don't know if that's like every team only gets a limited number of 5 stars or a limited number of, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's going to.
Yeah, but the problem is the 5 stars are subjective and the 4 stars are subjective. So, what are you really using as the basis there? I mean, it maybe could be a height weight thing where you look at a defensive line and say you could only have so many guys that are, this size, this weight. Maybe it's that, because really, truly, not only are Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, taking the first, second, third round best guys at every position, they are doing it in such a way where, their skill spots are good, but the real true advantage is on the defensive line. There's so few freaks, just defensive line freaks that come out in a given year. And the fact of the matter is Georgia, Bama, Ohio State are stockpiling them. Clemson stockpiling them.
Of course.
They don't just have one of them. They've got multiples of them.
Right.
And in this era of RPO and all that kind of stuff, the reason they're successful and others aren't is because they can bring guys in like hockey shifts.
Yeah.
So
right.
if you have an abundance of linemen, it's, as Rick likes to call, it's gold bullion.
Yeah.
That's how you win championships. That's the ultimate currency to get you the luxuries that you want to have, which is winning championships. Very few teams are going to have that because the kids just don't exist unless we develop some sort of like Captain America thing where we're going to take guys and put them in a machine and they're going to come out and look like Georgia defensive linemen.
That's right.
It is the way that it is, unless we put a cap on, you can only have so many dudes that are so-and-so height and weight.
That is the first time I've ever heard that, and I actually love that idea. I love that concept to sort of.
I just made it up, so
I love
nice.
it.
Yeah,
Dude, that's
nice.
Talk about that on your show, because that is a great.
Yeah.
That is a great idea to try and level it off a little bit, because you think about what Georgia did the last 2 years. Stetson Bennett is a backup quarterback in the NFL, and he may eventually become a starter if Matt Stafford gets hurt, but he's a backup. That's what he is. Like, he's not even Brock Purdy, okay?
No.
He's not. He just doesn't possess that. He's not bad. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I'm saying he's good. He certainly was great in college. But the reason Georgia was great was exactly what you just said. Their defense was unstoppable. No one could do anything against them.
Right.
So
when you stuff the run and you're after the quarterback on every play, you've completely compromised the other offense. And then, okay, your offense needs to score 5 touchdowns or 6 touchdowns, which they can do because you have the talent on the other side. So can you get 4 or 5 touchdowns? Yeah.
You just need a serviceable quarterback, which is why I think Georgia's going to be great this year. Again, they don't need much from that quarterback position.
No.
They really don't.
But I think they might be better at the quarterback position.
True.
I
We
think
don't
Carson
know.
Beck's probably more talented than Stetson Bennett. Georgia could be better than they've been the last 2 years.
Yeah.
We don't know.
I just don't think that their biggest problem in the league comes from Alabama. I think it comes from LSU.
Yeah, fascinating. Amazing. Let's take a break. We come back. We got some quick hits. Chris Childers is with us from Full Ride. This is a fascinating talk. I absolutely love it. View from the cheap seats. Don't go anywhere.
Guys, the key to dinner time success, you may ask us. Well, I'll tell you, it's variety.
Yep.
And HelloFresh keeps your taste buds on their toes with 40 chef-crafted recipes to select from every single week. From family-friendly to fit and wholesome, you'll always find new and exciting recipes to try and love this fall. You got places to be, you got things to do, kids are in school, you're busy, and standing in the checkout line is not one of the things you need to do. Leave the meal planning and the grocery shopping to HelloFresh with pre-portioned ingredients and easy step-by-step recipes. So easy, I can even do them. Delivered to your door. You'll have so much fun, and you'll take out the hassle, right?
So I made a fantastic pork chop dish the other night for the family.
Yep.
The ingredients were all sort of laid out. They're all put out in the packaging and whatnot, and I was able to follow it. First of all, very easy on the card.
Takes like 30 to 40 minutes tops.
They
to
don't
do
use a lot of pans, so the cleanup isn't terrible. And it's making me enjoy cooking. And for my wife and for my daughter, I was like, they're so happy that I'm doing that. And I usually clean up all the dishes, so I get to say at the end, you guys,
clean it up.
You clean it up.
Yes.
But it is really fun to be able
HelloFresh will give you the power to say to someone else in your family, you clean it up. So I love it. And I'm the same way. We don't cook a lot of special, different varieties of meals at our house. We kind of go to the same go-tos. And for me, this is like changing the game for us.
There was a chicken dish that we just had that was
the chicken sausage.
Oh, so good. So
all right. So go to HelloFresh.com/50cheapseats. Use the code 50cheapseats, 50cheapseats for 50% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/50cheapseats, all one word, and use the code 50cheapseats, 50cheapseats for 50% off plus free shipping.
Can I say that? Can I say it at the
tell
end?
them, Rand.
HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
You do the dishes.
You clean it up. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. You can follow Chris Childers. Tell people how they can follow you on the X and the Instagrams and whatnot.
Yes, X. I hate the X. At Childers Radio on the X.
Okay.
Piss off, Elon. I'm still not paying for your blue check mark.
Nope,
No.
neither are we.
At Childers Radio on Instagram and Threads. That's how you can get me, and then listen to Full Ride on ESP or not ESPNU. We switched that.
Yeah.
College Sports Radio 84 on
Sirius
Sirius XM, and then I do the Sirius XM SEC show with Aaron Murray from what time are we on? 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern time. If you like the SEC.
Truly a great voice in radio and in sports, and we say this all the time about you. It's very hard to cut through all the noise and all the people talking. You are a unique,
To be
and original
fun and
voice.
have great
Thank
takes. Dude, the height and weight thing is a great take.
I love it. All right, here's my question for you. Give me before we get into quick hits, your ideal Saturday college football experience for this fall. What is your best case scenario Saturday viewing, watching, experiencing experience?
So when I moved to Tennessee, and I love the Big Ten, and I grew up, the reason I love college football is the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I grew up with. It's what I went to go see. It's what I enjoyed. But I live in the South. I've lived in Nashville for several years. I mean, I went to school at Middle Tennessee State in the fall of 2000, and I've been here ever since. I remember back to my first Alabama game, and it was weird. I was a freshman in college. My friend just sent me, he randomly found the ticket stub from when we went, and he sent it to me in kind of a cool case as I'm starting my graduate school now at Alabama, kind of a cool ceremonial gift. And I put it up on my desk. I'll never forget that experience of seeing Alabama for the first time, seeing the people that were wearing clothes that were really nice and not just like, football jerseys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The $1 Million Band, hitting the field for the first time. That's really special. Or Neyland Stadium and the Power Tee and walking around the Vol Navy. So
Yeah.
for me, a perfect Saturday would be waking up. My two nephews now, Keaton and Brody, are playing football in Brentwood, Tennessee for their Little League program.
Awesome.
And I love going to those games. I'm like the crazed uncle, but I don't yell. I just love to support them and give them tips and stuff. But so wake up, go to one of those games at 9:30, get in the car, get to Tuscaloosa by 3:30 or Neyland by 3:30, which is very doable for both. Those are the schools that are closest to me in the besides Vanderbilt, which is 5 minutes away, but we're not going to count that.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that are the closest to me. Get up, go to a game, be a part of that, and just stay on campus. I like watching games in parking lots of stadiums.
Right.
I love
the
that.
night game after the 3:30 game, hanging around a post,
like watching the prime time in a parking lot with beer and like sausage and stuff and all the
great.
like. It's the best thing in the world.
I love it.
That's my perfect Saturday.
You just talked. That's like heaven to me. That's so.
Yeah, it
beautiful.
is.
It's just perfect.
So mine
Amazing.
Ours would be being at Michigan, going to the game, tailgating a little before, going to the game, after the game, getting a little bit of time to watch the late afternoon game. So they would have the earlier game. Watch the late afternoon game before we have to go do a comedy show that night in Michigan.
love that.
That to me,
perfection.
and walking around the campus and feeling the energy, the way a campus swells wells with energy around
Yes.
the game is just
Especially
magical.
after a win, the feeling.
My
of it.
belly swells with the little Zingermans before.
Yeah,
the game.
nothing wrong with that. I love it. Let's get
I
into
love my Zingermans.
Oh, God, I just had it this past week when I dropped my daughter off. All right, let's
So
get into
good.
this. Let's get into this. So, weakest guy of the week so far. There are a number of promotions out there to lower the cost of buying NFL Sunday ticket. Okay, from Google and YouTube offers. You get direct TV offers and all this other stuff. Okay. Usually the public, I'm not going to begrudge someone who uses someone else's Netflix, thing. I'm not going to.
Yeah,
I
you
can't-
share that.
I can't. So here are the details. Here's the thing. An administrator of I believe a college. He basically he was. I don't know if it's a college or now I'm like not getting it right. He basically
Use somebody else's DirecTV login
Yeah,
to get Sunday NFL ticket.
That's right. And he petitioned it out into the and put it out on social media. Anybody who has a Sunday ticket thing, please let me borrow it. So he's openly speaking about cheating. And and he's an administrator. You just cannot do this. Like it's egregious.
you
and it's wrong.
talk to your mom or your brother or your nephew or whoever, right? I mean, that's how you do it. You don't like put it out on social media. Hey, give me your code.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, because you're stealing at that point.
At that point, you're openly
it's
stealing.
Like Napster and all that crap back in the day with LimeWire and stealing the
That's right.
songs. You're stealing. You're
LimeWire.
stealing from YouTube. Nobody wants to do that. You don't want to be put in jail or in YouTube jail. Listen, I'm pretty sure my sister told me she can share with me though her Sunday ticket.
Yeah.
I think she said like that's allowed. Like there's some sort of
So it's
up
it's
to
West
5 accounts or something. What's
Yeah.
going on there?
So West Bonner Superintendent Brandon Durst looking for a college student, not someone that he knows, to help him cheat the
Yeah.
system for cheaper cable.
That's not okay.
Can I? Who
No.
is a college student I can borrow from? That's literally he's put that out in the world, and you are an administrator.
Come on.
Yeah.
You should be. You should,
This is someone saying I don't have friends.
That's
The
right.
translation of this is I don't
Yeah.
have people in my life who love me or care about me. That's all you're saying with that statement. Is there
All right.
a college kid?
You talked about going to see your nephews play football. I go to see my nephew Jay's son play basketball. I absolutely love
Nice.
it. I got a little too heated with that was all ball. That was all ball, and the ref turned.
turned to him, who
told-
looks like me, and told him to be quiet. And I had to verbally convey that I'm the one who is his dad, and he is just here
He
for this
told me
game.
to
Please don't
shush.
get mad at me.
He told me to shush,
Yeah.
and then I just, hands up. I said that was all ball.
And then in the next game, he got so upset. Randy was like, your son's not going to score at all in this game. He's like, it's not going well. I'm bad luck. I have to leave. The second he left,
Hits a 3 and hits a 2. All right.
I'm
so
like,
Yeah.
good. I'm glad you left.
questionable behavior,
Yeah.
sideline behavior of Rush Probst is well known. On Friday night, the excitable football coach, added to his history of erratic in-game incidents. He's the football coach at Pell City in his first game back in Alabama since resigning from Hoover in 2007. So he's had a long time away. He threw his headset at his son, John David Probst. John David Probst sounds like he is
The guy who shot John Lennon. Am
Right?
I wrong?
Yeah.
I know
Do you
that's
know
not
why
it.
he resigned?
Yeah. Why?
Because he had 2 families.
What?
Secret family.
Yes. So Rush Probst is there was an MTV show back in the day called Two-A-Days, and it was about Hoover High School, and he was at the center of it. I watched every episode of it, so I became like this Rush Probst, not
Savant.
fan, but I knew who he
You knew
was.
who he was.
Certainly, I thought he was a psychopath.
Right.
Great high school coach, but like win at all costs. One of those like army, like just weird. Like I would never let my kid play for him.
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
to me, he was the real John Voight of Varsity Blues.
Yes.
Right.
Like that's him.
Right.
And comes out that apparently he has like
A whole other family.
another wife and kid.
Unreal.
And somehow it became public and he had to resign.
Yeah.
He had a whole nother family. That's why he's no longer at Hoover.
It's crazy. And so they lose.
Dude, that's like a part of our comedy. We talk about that.
That's the dumbest idea.
The dumbest idea, because no extra amount of sex with another person is worth 7 back to school nights.
You just don't need it.
It's not. It's not worth it.
So they lose.
No.
They lose to Moody this past weekend, and in a bizarre moment where they get a personal foul penalty against Moody for a late hit out of bounds, he tempers flared and he picked up his headset and he threw it at
His son. Which son? First family or second
right?
family? Now we don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
Maybe this is like all the frustration of like, why did people find out that I have a second family? But he throws it at him. Like, again, you should just be happy you're back in the game. Like, Gene Hackman wasn't going to hit one of the kids on the Hoosier team. He wasn't.
No.
He knows he screwed up back in the day. He's not going to make that same mistake twice. And here's this guy. Because I do think that these coaches and these people feel like they are bigger than.
If you're a football coach and you have a second family in life, are you the kind of guy who gambles on second down?
Don't gamble on second down.
You got another
You
down.
gotta know your plays.
I don't know, but I'll just put it this way. I'm not surprised.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise you.
I'm not surprised. And you know who used to work for him?
Who?
Jeremy Pruitt
No way.
Are you
was
serious?
his defensive coordinator at
Oh,
Hoover
my
High School.
God.
Yes.
Wow.
So he's got a coaching tree, this guy.
Yes, he does.
What other school did Jeremy
He
Pruitt?
used to say, "You got to line up and you got to beat the piss out of him.
Okay.
You got to beat the piss out of him." I mean, that's what he would say.
Beat the
Dude,
piece.
this guy doesn't just have a family tree; he has a family orchard.
That's right.
Yes,
that's
he does.
right. He does.
Exactly.
Several. I don't know if you're a fan of U.S. sprinting, but Noah Lyles, he did it. He did it, and then he stepped in it. U.S. male sprinter won the 100-meter and the 200-meter race at the World Championships in Budapest. For the third year in the row, he won the 200-meter. This is amazing. Like, we finally have Usain Bolt is out of the picture.
He's old enough to not be beating us anymore.
And we finally have U.S. runners that are winning. Sha'Carri Richardson is winning. I mean, this is a great time. If you're a U.S. sprinting fan, this is great. But then he stepped in it. He stepped in
his post.
In his post, he was so excited. I mean, this guy's like a big talker. It's like, take the biggest talking person that you know. This guy's a huge talker. And he's like, I'm the world champion. I mean, you go. He's like, you watch the NBA, and afterwards they're like, we're the world champions. He's like, world champion of what? You're just the champion of the United States. You're not. So
and maybe Canada because of Toronto. And it's like, no. You don't want to poke that bear. Because
Right.
now all these NBA players are like, what's this dumbass?
Oh, I
talking
think
about?
he's right, though.
do you?
I've actually thought about this.
How?
I've thought about this a lot
The best
recently.
European
I think, like,
players are in the league
to me,
already.
the only true global championship is the World Cup. Everything else is bullcrap from a team perspective. Like, because not enough people play basketball.
So-
not enough people play. Nobody plays baseball outside of our country.
Japan,
I mean, these are
Japan and
national.
Korea.
They should call it the North American
No.
Championship. Is
So
what they should call it.
Japan, Korea, and in the entire
Okay,
Caribbean.
baseball, fine.
Venezuela.
but not Europe. Nobody in like
Nobody's playing baseball.
England plays or
no one's playing
France or
baseball in
countries
Europe.
that matter.
No,
True.
so listen, but as far as like basketball is concerned, there are European leagues and there's the Greek
Okay,
league. there's the
basketball might be
Argentine league.
different. Basketball, I surrender to basketball.
all the best
but
players in the world.
our football,
Our
nobody cares
no.
about it outside of here.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
You're
about
right.
it.
You're
Nobody.
right. So then the world champions of football.
Lyles, just
I thought-
shut up, dude. Like you,
Kevin
want-
Durant. When Kevin Durant starts tweeting at you, somebody help this.
I
brother.
wouldn't say it.
You wouldn't
but he's
say-
right.
You wouldn't say it. You wouldn't say it out loud. All right, before we get out of here, and we have one, we'll do the
We'll do the
binge
binge
ourselves.
ourselves, yeah.
But I have one last question for you before we get out of here, Childers, and then you can go take a nap. Deion Sanders. I looked at a stat. They put the plus minus, the win total under over at 2.7.
Under.
wins. You say under 2.7 wins.
Yes.
Why? What's your reasoning?
Because his team sucks.
Yeah.
And he's coming in as Ned Narcissist, and he thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced pickles, and he doesn't realize the level of football that he's walking into. He completely revamped his roster. There's no talent on it.
Mm-hmm.
They went 1-10 a year ago. They probably go 1-10 again, or 1-11, or whatever it is
Yeah.
now. I just don't see them having success, and I don't think his kid's very good. So add that up, dot the I, cross the T. I go under.
You go under.
So 2 tops.
And is it the type of thing, let me follow that up with, is it the type of thing where the criticism and the week after week of him, because this is a guy who like made it as a football. He was prime time, and he was he was a defensive back, and he returned kicks, and he was like an offensive threat in certain ways. And then he plays another sport on the highest level. He's the best football player turned baseball player since Bo Jackson. He thinks he can do anything, to your narcissist claims right there. At what point does he sort of say, like, screw this, I don't want the criticism anymore, and he is like, I'm gonna walk away?
I don't know. I don't know what that is going to look like, but I think he's going to have a really hard time dealing with losing.
It's going to be ugly.
I don't think he knows how to do it. I think he thinks he's going to come in and win, and he's going to have to do some soul searching, because I know he's already come in and pissed a lot of people off on that campus.
He did.
Yeah.
He's already acting like he's won something.
Right.
Because he's Deion Sanders.
Right. And he has won stuff in his life, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Coaching.
But not in
and
coaching.
he can't go make the plays.
He can't
like
go
the
make
thing about
the
it
plays.
is he can't fix the problem on the field because he can't be the one
to
playing.
return punts.
So, and I'll add one more question to this. Would you rather, you're the AD of a major school, would you rather have the kind of coach like Deion who can do the pregame speech, hit my music, and let's do the thing and all that stuff and get everyone riled up, or would you rather have a guy who's basically almost on the spectrum, who can't really talk to people, but is like a football genius, a la? I mean, I was
going to say I'd rather have Jim Harbaugh, because that's the guy that you're talking about.
Essentially, yes.
I don't know if he's almost. I think he is on that spectrum, and that's okay. I mean, that's
he might be.
That's him. That's Jim.
Yeah, and he'll get it.
Jim's unique. Jim's different, but he's great at what he does. Right? He's a wonderful football coach. He's brilliant for Michigan. I'd rather have Jim. Yeah. To answer your question, I'd rather have Jim.
Yeah, I think we'll see this year. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited for them to lace them up and play on Saturdays.
And I'm excited to listen to you then break it down the week after.
All year long. This whole fall, you are the soundtrack of our days between the games, the long deserts between we get the oases of the Saturdays of the fall of college football.
Full ride, Chris Childers. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Peace, love, and roll tide. Thank you, boys.
Go Blue.
Go Middle Tennessee State.
See ya.
We'll be right back.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Chris Childers, just fantastic. Patreon fans, thank you for signing up for our Patreon and getting to watch that. Special content just for you. We love doing it. It's a great way to support artists through strikes and whatnot. So thank you for that. And we got a voicemail before we get out of here, so let's check it out.
Jason, Randy, my name is Liam Neeson, and let me just make one thing perfectly clear. I've been preparing for a new role in a biopic film or motion picture, depending on your preference. And I've been working on a special set of skills that I think would make me an excellent choice to play Ernie Els in a biopic named, and let me just make one thing perfectly clear, I will not budge on the name. The name of the film is Big Easy, the Ernie Els story. Now, I've been working on my golf game, and let me just make one thing perfectly clear. It's excellent. So I'm proposing that I, Liam Neeson, take my special set of golf skills and, as Ernie Els, play in the Ryder Cup. And let me just make one thing perfectly clear. I will not be Liam Neeson. I will be Ernie Els. I have mimicked his game exactly. And let me just make one thing perfectly clear. If you do not agree that my skills, this special set of skills that I have worked on in the game of golf, do not make me look exactly like Ernie Els, let me just make one thing perfectly clear. I will find you. And I will ask you to watch my golf game more closely, because it's uncanny. It's an uncanny resemblance to Ernie Els. So reminder, Liam Neeson playing the Ryder Cup as Ernie Els. And let me just make one thing perfectly clear. I will find you. And I will kill you.
All right, there you go. That is a show. If you are in the Detroit area, come see us at Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase will be there on Saturday, next Saturday, Friday and Saturday.
Friday the 8th and the 9th.
So
One
come
show
see us.
Friday, two shows
Saturday. We love to sell these shows out. It's one of our favorite venues to perform at. Love the hour that we're doing. We'll do a Q&A at the end of the show so you guys can see what we're doing and just ask some
It's
questions.
super fun. It's the crowd interaction. The show that we're doing right now is just a blast. We love it. So
It
we'd
is
love
so
to see you
fun.
there.
So there's that, and then if you're in LA, that next week we're going to be we have a Taggart show on the 13th at the Comedy Store, and then another Taggart show on the 18th at Largo. Those shows are going to be amazing. Supersklars.com. We'll put those dates in there, and we're out. Punch a waterfall. We'll see you next week. Enjoy college football.